There could be one simple mistake that you're making which stops you from getting any leads from your YouTube content. And in this video, I want to show you what it is, explain how it works, and how to fix it step by step. If you don't know me, my name is Paul and I help business owners get clients from YouTube. So the thing is, with a lot of videos, what happens is in the beginning you get a load of views and then suddenly they drop off and you get nothing. The video just dies in the water. And this is a current client that I'm working with, and you can see since sort of the middle of March, the video's just been not bringing in any views really at all. This is a problem because if you spend all this time making the content, you don't want the video to just suddenly die and to stop bringing in any views, because no views means no potential clients. So we need to fix that. Now, let me explain a little bit about why this happens. So if you're ever walking down the street, you see the same thing day in, day out. The same people, the same cars, everything just is the same. But then one day you're walking down the street and a pink car suddenly drives past. And you'll think, oh, that was a bit unusual. It catches your eye and you suddenly notice it because pink cars don't come by every day. But the same thing happens on YouTube, where when you're browsing through the feed and you see all these videos pop up, there'll be a video that you see and you think, I'm not interested in that, I'm not going to watch it. And then it'll pop up a few days later, same thing happens, you don't click on it. And what happens is over time, you will just stop choosing to see that video. It will just become part of the background where you just ignore it. Now, if you change the packaging, if you change the title and a thumbnail for a video, that can bring it back to life, because now that video seems like a new thing. It will suddenly stand out again on people's YouTube feeds. Now, I don't expect you just to take me for this and just to take me at my word. So let me show you an example here. This was a video by someone who, as you can see, for a while, in the beginning, it was getting almost no views. And then she made some changes here where the video suddenly started to take off and get a bunch of views. Now, what did she do? Quite simply, she changed the title and the thumbnail. You can see the date she changed it and what she changed it to. And that was the difference between this video just stagnating and just doing very poorly and then suddenly spiking and taking off. So let's look at one of my current client videos. This is a video that was mentioned in the beginning, and this is the video that has stagnated and died and stopped getting views. So how do we fix this? Well, we change the title and the thumbnail. The title is quite simple to change. You just literally look at it, figure out how to improve it, and then change it on YouTube. So let me show you exactly how I would come up with some more concepts for this title. So this was the original one, and here I would think we can just simplify it. There's a lot of words going on, and when there's a lot going on in a title and it takes somebody a little while to understand it, you'll probably get less views. So let's simplify this title, and his channel is specifically for black men. However, there's black men in the thumbnail, so I don't know if we need to explicitly mention it in the title here. We could potentially get rid of it and save some space. So let's have a look at a few options here. We could get rid of the "this is" and now just have "why black men pick the wrong beard for round faces." We could also just get rid of black there and make it a little bit shorter and just have "why men pick the wrong beard for round faces," or "don't pick the wrong beard for round faces. Round face, never pick this beard." And we're just playing around with the title, coming up with some different ideas that are all very similar. Now, one of these, changing it to one of those, might be all you need for that video to take off and to start bringing in more views and to start bringing in clients again. However, I think the thumbnail is always going to be a bigger driver, because this is what people will see on YouTube. And if you change the thumbnail a lot, suddenly the video will stand out a lot more. It'll go from being that grey car driving past to that bright pink car, which suddenly catches people's eyes. So this was a different video that we made for the client with a different thumbnail, and I want to basically take this thumbnail here and recreate it in that style. Now, I'm not a graphic designer, I'm awful at this. However, I figured out some very simple methods for creating thumbnails super quick and super easily, and I want to show you exactly how to do that. So what we're going to do is we will jump over into Photoshop, and I'm going to take this image and drop it in. So this was the photo of the person that he used in that thumbnail. Now, what we need to do is we need to fix the shoulders down here. So on the bottom left, we can see that there's a very hard square edge. And if I make the image wider, we're going to have a very sharp edge here. So I don't want that. What I want to do is go to Image, Canvas Size, click this little box on the right hand side, and then change the width to about 1000 pixels. Now, I know you might be looking at Photoshop and thinking, this is incredibly complicated, it's really expensive. It's not. It costs me about $100 a year for the license, and when you see some of these tools now, you'll understand how powerful it is and why you should be using it. So the next thing we're going to do is use the selection tool up here in the left, and we're going to select this white part of the image that we just created, and then hit delete. Control D to get rid of that selection, and now we're going to make another selection box down here where that missing shoulder would be. And this is the powerful tool that we need in Photoshop, the generative fill. Click that, press enter, and what this will do is it will look in the rest of the image and think, what is missing from this part, and then it will try to fill it in. So it will recreate this missing shoulder, and it takes a few seconds, but bam, we've got the perfect shoulder with the patterns included and everything. We will click Ctrl-Alt-N and Ctrl-Alt-E, and I'll just copy everything onto a new layer in this bottom right down here, and I'll just hide these back 2 layers, and I'm just going to click Remove Background here. And this is another really powerful tool in Photoshop where it just removes everything behind a person. So now we need to save this image out so we can actually edit it. I'm going to go to File, Save a Copy, change this option down to PNG, and I will just save it here and press OK. Now, I'm going to use a software called Figma to build out the rest of the thumbnail, and this is totally free, so I recommend it highly. It's incredibly powerful and it's really easy to use. So we're going to jump over down here to Figma, and I'll change over to my editing page. Now, what we need to do is to create a new frame, which is this option down here, frame, click that and drag out a rectangle. So the dimensions we want, we could change this up here in the layout, top right to 1920 by 1080. And then that is the right size for a YouTube thumbnail. So now we just need to get that image. So we'll just drag it and drop it into Figma. And I'm going to place him over on the right hand side here. And I'll use this box here, hold shift, and I will just scale him up to fill up the thumbnail a bit more. Drag him around a little bit. And on the edge here, if I hold control and then just drag that back, I can just reduce down that size of that image just a little bit. So now the things that we are missing, we need the background and we need the text. So if we click on the frame here, we can change the fill, which is the color that is in the background. Now, we want to make a little nice gradient, so we click this button up here for gradient. Now we're going to change these 2 colors. So this bottom color, I'm going to change to sort of a light gray up here, and then this bottom color, I'm going to change to a slightly darker gray, and I'll change this to radial. Now we can see here, we have this very soft transition from a lighter gray to a slightly darker gray, and I can move this point around to move where that bright point is. So I'll move this just over here, might make that slightly darker, make this one a little bit darker as well. Now we need to add this text in, so I'll click the text button, click over here, and I'm going to do never do. I'll click Control A, we're going to make this a lot bigger, so how big do we need it? Quite big apparently. Let's try 200. I'm going to change the font over to one of my more favorite ones, which is Able Pro, which I quite like. We'll change it up even more to 250. So the goal here is what I'm trying to actually achieve is to make the text fill up the thumbnail. We've got a lot of space here, and we want to make sure that we're using every single bit of it. So let's bring this text up here, and then we'll do Control-C, Control-V, and we'll change this text to this. I'm just going to move that back down below here, so never do this. Now, I'm going to put this into a little box, so I'm going to click the rectangle down here, drag this over the text here, and I'm going to change the fill up here to red. Now, you can see that's hidden the text, so we just need to drop this behind our text layers on the left-hand side here, and we can see now our text stands out in this box. So we'll just move it around a little bit, change that text with a fill option over to white. I think that would benefit from a bit of a shadow. So if we go down to the bottom right and we click on effects, we can add a drop shadow here. And we use these three options, and this just moves around where the shadow is, these first two ones, and then that looks pretty good. I might make it a little bit darker, so we can just drag this bottom option here to make it stand out a little more. And we'll add the same thing onto this never do text. We'll add a effect down here, click on the drop shadow, and then just make sure that is offset a little bit from the actual text. Bring that down a little bit, and maybe slightly ramp up the intensity. Now, it still looks a little bit wonky. The spacing between the lines is quite a lot between the text layers. I think is a bit too much. And I think we need to move this one around as well, this box and this white text. So first, let's change this text up here. We'll go change the line spacing to, say, 220. That looks a little better. And then these two layers here, I'm going to click and select both of them. And then I'm just going to drag those until they line up with that text there. Now, the next thing we need to do is add an arrow. And there's a few ways to do this, but I'm going to use the pen tool. So we'll click on that, click just underneath our text here and make 3 points. So 1, 2, and then 3 over near the beard. We can then click this little bend tool here, and we can make that middle point bent, quite simply. We'll go over to the right-hand side, click on the stroke, click that and change it to a red. And then we'll change this diameter of the line so it's a lot thicker. We can also add an arrowhead to it, so I'm just going to click enter. And now we've got a fixed line. We'll click that, and then we'll go over to the right-hand side again and click on endpoint and change that to line arrow. We can adjust the thickness of this line again later if we want, so just scale it down. Add the effects and another drop shadow over to it. So same process as before, add a slight drop shadow. Same sort of position as the previous ones, and I think that looks pretty good. Now we need to add the shape around his beard. So to do that, we're going to use the pen tool again. So we click the pen tool at the bottom. We're going to zoom in on his beard a bit by holding Control and using the scroll wheel, and then we're going to click just on the outline edges of his beard. Now, this is going to look a bit janky at first. It doesn't look very good, but we can fix that in a minute. So we're just going to roughly outline these edges. Click up to there and then click that. Now we just need to use the bend tool again. We just go around, we click on these individual points, and that will change each point from a sharp edge to a nice smooth transition. And we'll just change all of these. And I'm not going to be doing a perfect job of this, just for the sake of time. Go over to the move tool here, and we'll just move around some of these points just to get them in the right place, just so that the transition follows the edges of that beard, and it doesn't look quite so poor. So that looks pretty good. Okay, we just need to fix this one as well. Done. Now, we can zoom out a little bit. That's kind of hitting the boxes. That's doing what I need it to do. However, I feel like there is a lot of space around this middle part here, and maybe the text, we could do something a little more with that. So what I like to do here is just to make duplicates of this thumbnail. So we click on the top left where it says frame 4 and then hit Control D. That will make a duplicate of this entire thumbnail. So then we can take this text, and we're going to move that to a center positioning, and then we'll also do the same with these boxes down here in this text. Move that to there. I think that looks better already. Maybe we could move this arrow around slightly. Potentially we could make another copy and we could take all of this text and the boxes and then just put them onto a slight little angle. So I just selected everything and then just moving it around like that. Again, probably move this arrow very slightly. And I think that looks a little better. So you can see here, we've gone from this over to this. And just with a few small changes, I think just having that text on a very slight angle makes all of the difference. But when you're actually designing your thumbnail, there is many mistakes that I see business owners making again and again. So I would recommend you watch this video next to learn how to fix them.